So I got out of bed, took 2 looks at my homework assignments folder, and then played Bed Wars and talked about unicorns for half an hour. So all the way back in the old ages of BC, right? You had 3 main gods. You had Squirtle, you had Charizard, and you had Pikachu. And one day, Pikachu was like, yo, I found a rock, let's decorate it. 10 million years later, humans arrive. Whatever, crap happens. And of course, humans being humans, we went to Poseidon. We're like, yo, there's nothing to do down here, we're bored. And Poseidon was like, yo, what we should make for them? And of course, Aphrodite, being Aphrodite, was like, make them a horse. And Poseidon was like, bet. So, that's how seahorses were made. And of course, they, not like your typical seahorse, it's just like, you know, water horses. Like the one from Frozen, you know, like Elsa. Basically Elsa. Now, after Poseidon and all made these horses, humans were still pretty bored. So he was like, how about this? I'll make you another one, then you get Ooga Booga Brain. And then the humans are like, Ooga Booga, etc., etc. And they were pretty gosh darn happy. So what Poseidon did is he went to his he went to randomcreaturegenerator.com. He threw in a couple Pokemon, and bada bing bada boom, a Unifish was made, or as we call it today, narwhals. So after, you know, these humans Ooga Booga Brain, and they were like, oh, this is pretty cool. They were like, so meat. So they grabbed this skull of a seahorse, and they hippity hoppity and grabbed the skull of a narwhal, and they smacked it together real hard, and then you got a unicorn. And of course, this was pretty catastrophic to, you know, the science community back then. They're like, what the you can't just do this. And then Ooga Booga Brain happened, and they didn't give 2 craps. Bada bing bada bing. After all this happened, of course, Poseidon wasn't too dilly darn happy. He was like, yeah, why'd you do that? So he went and he grabbed this new species, I guess. He chucked it onto the ground. And of course, you know, the humans were like, whatever, new old plaything, I'm gone. Of course, after all this happened, Gary, the god of dirt, was like, yo, that's kind of cap. I'm gonna take some of that. So he grabbed some of this, you know, beautiful creature right here, right? And smacked it right into this, you know, ugly horse. And bada bing bada boom, you had unicorns. He's like, hey, this creature, this majestic, has to have powers. I mean, like, this thing is like a Make-A-Wish Foundation kid, right? You have to give it what it wants. Like, if it asks to be Harry Potter, you better figure out how to make it Harry Potter, or you're gonna go to hell. So after giving all these magical unicorns and all powers, Gary dies. You know, crap happens. Gary dies. Whatever. And of course, after Gary dies, unicorns are like, Cap, let's leave. And they roll out on their little scooters, and they're gone. Of course, being unicorns, they explored the entire world, being, you know, just because they're smart like that. And of course, the first place they went to was big ol' Egypt. So whenever the unicorns headed over to Egypt, they were like, Cap, yo, you want to worship us? And, you know, Egyptians being Egyptians, they're like, Cap, let's do it. So after doing this, they were like, okay. All right, we have to at least make some structures. We have to make structures to worship these said gods. And after they said, like, yeah, let's do it, they tried making structures. And, I mean, they were okay at it. But let's look at the pyramids. I mean, does that thing really look like a horn? Let's be honest here. I mean, it's like a failed, I don't know, art project, right? And then you're like, your kid comes back from home, right? He got like a D+ on it, right? You're trying to comfort him, but you know deep inside, it looks ugly as crap. It's not that great looking. So, after all this happens, right? They were like, Egypt, you crap. And during all this, they're like, okay, all right. I mean, we've been here pretty long. I'm gonna just take a to-go food, and I'll be right back. So they took the Nile, left, Egypt's died, whatever. So after the Egyptians died out, they're like, all right, time to head over to somewhere else. And they're like, whoa, this civilization, they're talking about some actual crap here. I mean, they're talking about like Poseidon and crap. I mean, I kind of hate Poseidon, but I mean, they talked about Gaia a little bit, so I'm gonna head over here. So of course, after the unicorns headed over to the Greeks, they were like, okay, cool, worship us. And they're like, no. So they were like, okay, Greeks, and then they died. So that's basically how the Greek Empire went down. And it's like, whatever. I mean, what can you expect? And of course, unicorns being unicorns, they left. They took stuff with them. And of course, Romans, without the power of unicorns, they died out pretty quickly. And they were like, okay, yo, so we've been over to Europe. We haven't been to Africa. I mean, they don't have water there. It's okay. So I'm gonna head over to Asia, man, right? So they head over to Asia and they see this man named Genghis Khan, right? And they're like, yo, this guy pretty cap, not gonna lie. So they just hand him some, like, you know, unicorn dust. He's like, whoa. So what Genghis Khan basically did is he grabbed some horses. He was like, cap. He went with his boys and they basically ruled Asia with some horses. Now, of course, me being me, were they really horses? I mean, think about this. Do you think horses could really run for thousands of miles? I mean, do you really think horsepower was a thing back then? No, it wasn't. Because horses were ugly, right? That's the entire reason why Gary fixed them. I mean, horses were ugly, so no one wanted to use them. So the next logical step is unicorns. And of course, Genghis Khan, being Genghis Khan, his all-powerful big brain moves, he pulled some of that unicorn hair, and bada bing bada boom, he ruled Asia for a little bit. And they were like, yo, we've already been to Europe, we've already been to Asia, we've basically been to every continent now. So how about we head over to North America? And they're like, yo, we can't fly that long. So obviously, being big brain like they are, they go back to Europe, and they're like, yo, Christopher, you wanna fly? And he was like, cap. So he went over to the queen, he handed her some unicorn dust, bada bing bada boom, now he's got some cash. So he goes onto the ships, Pinta, Santa Claus, and Maria DiMarchino, and he basically flies his way over to America. Pokes some people with sticks, bada bing bada boom, America is founded. Of course, unicorns being unicorns, they split up. They went over, half of them went over to America, half of them went to Iceland, some of them went over to Africa. That's why you don't see that much water. And basically that happened, right? So let's talk about the unicorns in America. Of course, unicorns in America, they aren't as dilly darn happy go lucky as the Iceland ones. Of course, they're much more, you know, violent, right? They're the ones from the Red Sea, right? If I didn't explain this, the Red Sea, it's actually just a huge historical massacre of unicorns. It's a very tragic thing, right? And all these unicorns, they head over here. They're PTSD. It's really getting to them. They aren't having a too good of a time. So they go over. They head over to this nice thing that's called therapy, and they all become extremely emo, like emo teenager like. Of course, being emo teenager like, they went and, like, you know, sharpen knives, you know, because that's what emo teenagers do. They get knives. I don't know what teenagers do with knives. And, you know, so they were pretty chill, right? And then after the humans went and they're like, yo, so we live here now. The unicorns are like, cap. So, yo, you want a knife? So they're like, ooh, shiny knife. So the humans, us humans, we grab the knife. Bada bing bada boom. Now we have sharp objects. So now we have the name unicorn. Now think about this. You're like probably thinking to yourself, Jingle, you can't just say, I mean, like, how do we know that unicorns are not just a fraud? Well, I'll tell you. Let's look at the name unicorn, right? What's in it? Uni, which means one, and corn, meaning corn. Now, of course, whenever you think of uni, you probably think of, like, unicycle or something. But when I think of uni, I think of Uno. Do you know what else is magical in Uno? That's right. The reverse card. Of course, after these names came to existence, they were strongly disagreed upon, and many people try to argue against them. But truly, if you are a fan of unicorns, you will understand why they did such things. Unicorns are truly the most majestic being on Earth. I mean, what else can you call magical other than unicorns, right? Like honestly, it's just baffling to me to make people think that they aren't real, right? But whatever. We're gonna keep talking.
2 hours later.
And that's why I think Elon Musk should be on the FBI watch list.